Hey everyone, welcome to Valley of Secrets. I'm your host, Nikki Ruth. For today's story, I am taking you back to October 1995 in Mission, BC. The Fraser Valley is quiet, the air is crisp, and the leaves are starting to turn. Families are settling in for Thanksgiving weekend. Some are already basting turkeys. Kids are piling into cars for visits to their grandparents, and others are still in pajamas glued to cartoons before the smell of stuffing fills the house. On this particular Sunday morning, what begins as a small worry for a family member will, within an hour, grow into a discovery so horrific that it will tear a family apart and leave an entire community reeling. This is the story of the Holtam family. It's Sunday, October 8th, 1995, Thanksgiving weekend in Mission, BC. The neighborhood is still quiet. The sun is barely up, and the air is crisp with that damp Fraser Valley chill. You can almost hear the stillness, the occasional bird, a car in the distance, but otherwise, silence. Every morning at 7:15 a.m., Leonora's mom calls her daughter. It's their ritual. But this morning, she's 6 minutes late. At 7:21, she dials. No answer. She tries again at 7:26. Still silence. By 7:30, that motherly instinct, the one that knows when something isn't right, has taken over. She picks up the phone again, but this time to call Leonora's neighbor Robin and ask her to go check. Robin pulls on her jacket, crosses the street, and walks up the front steps of the Holtam home. She knocks once softly. Nothing. She knocks again a little harder this time, the sound echoing in the morning stillness. Still, nothing. She grips the knob and turns it. The front door is unlocked, but that's not a surprise in 1995. Many people left their doors unlocked as it was known to be a very safe neighborhood in Mission. So she steps inside. The house is quiet, but something feels wrong immediately. And then she sees it. In the living room, between the couch and the chair, lies 6-year-old Jenny. A pool of blood spreads beneath her small head, dark against the carpet. Robin freezes. Her breath catches in her throat, and then panic hits. She bolts back outside, screaming for her husband, Chris. Chris immediately runs over, heart pounding. Inside, he kneels beside Jenny. Her skin is pale, her breathing shallow. He presses his fingers to her neck. There's a pulse. Faint, thready, almost gone. He forces himself down the hall and into the bedroom. And there, he finds Leonora, 37 years old and 4 months pregnant, laying on her back in bed. The sheet and blanket are pulled up neatly by her neck, but her head, her skull has been brutally crushed. Chris bends close, searching for life, and incredibly, there's a faint pulse, but she is slipping away. At 7:45 a.m., Robin's shaking hands dials 911. Moments later, the first officers arrive, Constables Stephen Crawford and Roland Wallace of the Mission RCMP. They step inside the house, their boots heavy on the floorboards, and see the scene for themselves. Jenny in the living room, Leonora in her bed, both barely alive. Then, suddenly, the police officers are told that there should also be a boy in the house. So they quickly move up the stairs. On the landing, curled tightly in a fetal position, they find him, Cody, just 8 years old. His head is soaked in blood and his small body trembling. The officers crouch low, speaking gently, and against all odds, Cody stirs. He shifts, then pushes himself up into a sitting position, alive, barely, with his head gaping open. Paramedics rush him to BC Children's Hospital in Vancouver. He's directly placed into a coma and guarded by police. Doctors aren't sure he'll make it through the night. And for Leonora and Jenny, there's no chance. They're pronounced dead on arrival at the hospital. And while the chaos unfolds, one person is noticeably missing from this family home: Leonora's husband and the children's father, Doug Holtam. By 8 a.m., the Holtam home is swarming with first responders. Yellow tape goes up across the driveway. Every officer who enters logs their name. This is no longer just a family home, it's a crime scene. Instead, RCMP move carefully, documenting everything. Photographs and videos are taken. Blood patterns are sketched and measured. Pools and droplets are marked with numbered tags. Constable William Burney is among those combing through the house. According to the province, he gathers swabs from the blood spatters and pools where Leonora and Jenny were found. In a laundry closet, he discovers a green garbage bag, and inside, a plaid shirt with a red stain which is taken into evidence. Officers also seize 7 hammers, including one lying on the floor in the hallway just outside the master bedroom. All are bagged and sent to the RCMP forensic lab. And upstairs, where Cody had been found, more blood is collected along his bedroom doorframe. Every inch of the home is treated as evidence. Meanwhile, outside, neighbors begin to gather on the sidewalks, whispering in shock. Word spreads quickly. Something terrible has happened inside the Holtam house. And though police don't say it out loud, a suspicion already begins to form about who might be responsible. While officers are locking down the Holtam home, other RCMP members are already on the road. They head directly to Langley, BC, about 40 minutes away, to find Leonora's husband, 36-year-old Doug Holtam. Doug is at his job site at CPI Equipment. It's just after 8:30 a.m., not even an hour since Jenny and Leonora were discovered. Police pull him aside. They tell him his wife and daughter have been found brutally attacked, his son clinging to life, and they watch his reaction closely. According to the province, they take his clothing, his jeans, jean jacket, belt, and the red, white, and blue plaid shirt he's wearing. Every item is carefully bagged as evidence. They also seize his shoes. At 8:50 a.m., Doug is taken into custody. He's questioned for most of the day and then released without charges. But police are already calling him what they'll keep calling him for months, a quote-unquote person of interest. According to interview summaries reported in the province, Doug tells investigators his morning was ordinary. He says he woke up, got dressed, and around 6:30 or 6:45 a.m., he kissed Leonora goodbye while she was still sleeping. Then he drove to Langley, arriving at his job site by 7:30 a.m. It sounds airtight, a working man on the clock like any other workday. But the police aren't satisfied with sounds like. They want proof. According to trial evidence reported in the province, Constable William Burney is assigned to test Doug's timeline. He drives the exact route from the Holtam home in Mission to CPI Equipment in Langley, leaving at about 7 a.m. During the first run, he arrives at the job site at 7:32 a.m. and the second time at 7:28 a.m. Investigators also pull security video from CPI Equipment, confirming Doug did in fact arrive when he claimed, which only makes the timing test more chilling because it proves he had enough time to commit the murders. And while at the Langley site, police search a large dumpster outside Doug's workplace, hoping to find a bloody weapon or discarded clothing. They comb through every bag of garbage. Nothing. So, with no weapon in hand, they turn to the only evidence left: Doug's own clothing. His jeans, his jacket, his belt, his shoes, and most importantly, his red, white, and blue plaid shirt. The clothing goes straight to the RCMP forensic lab. Scientists go over every inch with the same care as a crime scene. Doug's jeans, jean jacket, and belt? They're clean. No blood. His truck? Also clean. But his red, white, and blue plaid shirt is a different story. Under the microscope, analysts find 22 tiny droplets of blood. Not smears, not large stains, but droplets. The kind that don't come from touching a victim, but from something else entirely. Tests show 6 droplets belong to Jenny and 4 belong to Cody. The rest are too degraded to match. On top of that, scientists find blood spots on his right shoe. And when the blood patterns on the shirt are analyzed, the conclusion is chilling. According to forensic testimony summarized in the province, they are consistent with cast-off, that fine spray of blood that flicks off the end of a weapon as it swings down again and again. It's not proof on its own, but it's a piece of the puzzle that fits perfectly with the violence inside the Holtam home. And still, one major gap remains. There's no blood from Leonora. Not on Doug, not in his truck, not on any of the 7 hammers seized from the house. For investigators, it's frustrating. They're circling Doug. The evidence is building, but without Leonora's blood and without a weapon, they don't yet have a case strong enough to take to trial. As the lab works on Doug's clothing, the coroner begins the painstaking task of documenting the injuries. For Leonora, the findings are devastating. According to trial testimony reported in the province, she suffered 11 separate hammer blows to the right side of her skull, each one strong enough to fracture bone, and each one more catastrophic than the last. But there's more. She had 2 broken fingers on her right hand, defensive wounds. Even as she lay in bed, covered to the neck by her sheets, she had tried to fight back. Clutched in that same hand was a single strand of dark hair, later seized for analysis. According to former FBI profiler John Douglas in his book Mindhunter, inside the FBI's elite serial crime unit, killings with blunt instruments are almost always personal. They require physical closeness, repeated strikes, and a level of rage that usually points to someone with a relationship with the victim. And that points less to a stranger breaking in and more to someone inside the home, someone known to Leonora, someone close. For Jenny, just 6 years old, the results are just as heartbreaking. Multiple hammer strikes to her head, and injuries so severe the pathologist testifies they were unsurvivable. And then there's Cody. He sustained 3 hammer blows near the top of the stairs. But unlike his mother and sister, Cody clung to life. Doctors placed him in the coma for weeks, not sure if he'll even survive one night, let alone recover. But he does. When he finally wakes up, he is told his mother and sister are gone. But he has no memory of the attack itself. Nothing of the house, the hammer, the moment his life was ripped apart. Just the scars, both physical and invisible, that he will carry for the rest of his life. Together, the forensic and autopsy evidence paints a picture that Doug's calm story can't explain. A mother beaten 11 times in her own bed, a daughter attacked as she ran to the living room, a son struck down last at the top of the stairs. And here's something criminologists have documented in other family murders. According to studies of paternal filicide, causes where fathers kill their children, men will often kill their sons last. Research published in the Canadian Journal of Psychiatry and the Journal of American Academy of Psychiatry and the Law suggests that some fathers hesitate with sons, seeing them as extensions of themselves. That hesitation doesn't save the child, but it can shift the order of the killings. And in the Holtam home, that pattern fits. Leonora was first, Jenny next, and Cody, the son, last. This only heightens police suspicion of Doug, but there is still no weapon and no blood of Leonora, just a mountain of circumstantial evidence that needs one final piece to lock the case. As Cody lays in the hospital, Doug visits him daily until around October 14th or 15th, when social services cut him off for Cody's safety. Cody officially becomes a ward of the Ministry of Children and Families. On October 20th, 1995, friends and family gather in Surrey to bury Leonora and Jenny. The church is filled with grief, and Cody is still in the hospital fighting for his life. At the graveside, Doug makes a gesture that shocks many who witness it. As Leonora's coffin is lowered into the ground, he removes his wedding ring and places it on top of the casket. Then he turns and walks away. To Leonora's family, it seems strange, premature even, and disrespectful. But they give him the benefit of the doubt. He is, after all, the grieving husband and father. After the service, Doug calls Leonora's family and tells them that he will not be at the gathering afterward. He says he, quote, needs to be alone for a while, end quote. But Doug isn't alone. Unbeknownst to him, the RCMP Special Oath Surveillance Unit is tailing him from the cemetery. They follow him as he drives an hour and a half to Tawasin Ferry Terminal, boards, and sails for another hour and a half to Schwartz Bay on Vancouver Island. From there, they trail him into downtown Victoria. Victoria, the capital city of British Columbia, sits on the southern tip of Vancouver Island. It's known for its historic harbor, gardens, and mild coastal climates. It feels worlds apart from the Fraser Valley. And that night, investigators watch as Doug walks into the Crossroads Cabaret in Victoria, and waiting for him is a woman. The two embrace, and their reunion is intimate, unmistakable. For police, the pieces begin to click into place. This wasn't grief. This was a man living a double life. On the outside, Doug and Leonora's marriage looked solid. They were high school sweethearts, had been married 11 years, and had 2 beautiful children with a third one on the way. To neighbors, they were the perfect family on Bench Avenue. Being an irrigation contractor, Doug often worked out of town, and it was on one of those work trips that changed the trajectory of his life. On September 18, 1995, less than a month before the murders, Doug walked into that same Crossroads Cabaret in downtown Victoria. And this is where he meets Shannon Goddard, a divorced mother of 2. Doug doesn't tell her he is married. Instead, he tells her she is his soulmate. Their romance quickly escalates. Shannon stays with him in motels for nearly 2 weeks. And Doug lives like he is a free man, away from mission and away from his family until he finally returns home on October 3rd. By then, the affair was consuming him. The love letters, the phone calls, the whispered promises of a life together. The day before the murders, Shannon tried to slow things down with Doug. She told Doug it was moving too fast, and his reply was chilling. Quote, "I will prove my love to you," end quote. Within 24 hours, Leonora and Jenny were dead, and Cody was fighting for his life in a hospital room. By the spring of 1998, police had spent more than 2 years circling Doug Holtam. They had blood evidence on his clothing, they had his behavior at the funeral, and they had his affair with Shannon Goddard. But without the murder weapon or Leonora's blood tying him directly to the crime, the case risked falling apart. So investigators turned to one of their boldest strategies, a quote-unquote Mr. Big operation. Undercover officers posed as members of a crime syndicate and slowly drew Doug in. They gave him work, offered him cash, and made him feel like he was trusted. Over time, he began to believe he was part of their world. On April 25, 1998, they arranged a meeting in room 120 of the Discovery Inn in Campbell River, BC. Across the table sat the man Doug believed was the crime boss, but in reality, he was an undercover Mountie. Doug was told the organization could make his problems disappear, but first, they needed the truth. Every detail. And Doug finally broke. He said he had woken before dawn and picked up a hammer from outside the home. He walked into the bedroom where Leonora, 4 months pregnant, was asleep, and he struck her again and again and again in her head. The sound woke Jenny. She came down the stairs and into the living room. He followed and struck her too in the head. Then he went upstairs. Cody was awake, standing at the top of the stairs on the landing. Doug said he hit him as well, leaving his son crumpled on the floor. Afterward, he claimed he tossed the hammer out the car window into the Fraser River as he was driving to work. Every word was recorded on that video. And while Doug couldn't remember the exact number of blows to each person's head, the medical evidence already had. Leonora had been struck 11 times. Jenny's wounds were exactly where he said they were, and Cody's injuries matched as well. Even the fine spray of blood, the cast-off pattern on Doug's plaid shirt, lined up with the hammer swings he described. For investigators, this was it, that final piece. Doug Holtam had confessed, not just in private, but on tape. By 1999, nearly 4 years after the murders, Doug Holtam finally stood trial. The proceedings began in October 1999 in front of a jury of 12, 9 men and 3 women, with Justice Wally Opal presiding. For weeks, the court heard a careful reconstruction of the Holtam murders. The Crown opened with motive. They laid out Doug's affair with Shannon Goddard, how he met her just weeks before the killings, how he told her she was his soulmate, how he moved her into the home almost immediately after Leonora and Jenny were laid to rest. That's just crazy to me. Then, the evidence. Jurors were shown Doug's plaid shirt speckled with 22 tiny blood droplets, 6 from Jenny, 4 from Cody. They heard how analysts determined those stains weren't from contact but from cast-off. They saw photos and a video of the house, the pools of blood in the living room, the blood spray in the master bedroom and upstairs landing, the horrific sight where a family was bludgeoned to death. Medical experts testified next. They described the 11 crushing blows to Leonora's skull and 2 defensive wounds on her right hand where she tried to block the hammer. They explained Jenny's unsurvivable injuries and Cody's fractured skull. And then, the most devastating piece for Doug, the undercover videotape. Jurors leaned forward as Doug's voice filled the courtroom, describing how he struck his wife, then Jenny, then Cody, and then how he tossed the hammer into the Fraser River. The defense fought back. They argued Doug was a man of good character, a father who had faithfully visited his son in the hospital until the ministry cut him off. They highlighted what was missing. Leonora's blood was never found on Doug. The hammer was never recovered, and his truck was clean. But still, the overall picture was damning. After hearing weeks of testimony, the jury withdrew to deliberate, and it didn't take long. By December 2nd, 1999, they returned with their verdict. Guilty of 2 counts of first-degree murder for Leonora and Jenny, and guilty of attempted murder for Cody. When the jury delivered their verdict, the courtroom erupted in heavy emotion. Leonora's family cried, relief that the truth had been recognized, but heartbreak that nothing could undo the loss. Back in Mission, the reaction was just as complicated. This was a community still haunted by what happened in that tidy cul-de-sac. Neighbors who once waved to Doug across the street now whispered about how they could have lived next door to a man capable of such violence. For many, the guilty verdict was a confirmation of what they had suspected all along: that the killer wasn't some faceless intruder, but someone inside the family. For others, it was hard to reconcile the man they knew with the monster described in court. The Holtam murders left a scar in Mission, and even after the trial, even with Doug behind bars, the question lingered in the community: how could this happen here? Doug Holtam was sentenced to life in prison with no chance of parole for 25 years. According to the Abbotsford News, after the guilty verdict, Doug Holtam was sent to Mountain Institution in Agassiz, BC to serve his life sentence. He would spend more than 2 decades behind bars. His appeals to the BC Court of Appeal in 2002 and the Supreme Court of Canada in 2003 were both denied. On December 4th, 2021, Doug Holtam died in custody. The official word was natural causes, and he never walked free again. As for Shannon Goddard, the woman at the center of his double life, she faded from the story. After moving into Doug's home so quickly following the murders, her name disappeared just as quickly from the headlines once his guilt was proven in court. For the community, she became another reminder of the betrayal that had driven Doug to murder. And then there was Cody, the lone survivor. After his release from hospital, he was placed with his grandmother for a time, before moving in with Leonora's brother on Pender Island. There, away from Bench Avenue, he began to rebuild his life. He never regained any memory of that morning. The blows to his skull had taken it from him, but the absence of memory didn't erase the loss. He grew up knowing his mother and sister were gone, and that his father had taken them. This case leaves us with one final truth. Appearances can lie. A picture-perfect family can hide devastating secrets. Thank you for listening to Valley of Secrets. The source information is in the show notes. If you'd like to see any behind-the-scenes footage and upcoming episodes, follow me on Instagram or Facebook at Valley of Secrets Podcast. And please consider sharing these episodes on social media and with those closest to you. It helps these stories reach more people and keep the names of the victims alive. I'll see you next week. Stay aware, stay safe, stay curious.